Welcome to my home, Black Homes and Lifestyle. Come on in. Hi, my name is Tiffani Glenn, visual artist born in Tampa, Florida. I grew up with two sisters, my mom. Every Saturday morning we would watch cartoons, Looney Tunes, and that's kind of how I got my interest in art. I would start by mimicking the characters that I saw, would draw on paper, draw on walls, shoe boxes, and I think from that moment that influenced me to kind of pursue art because I just had such a love for the 2D animation. I first realized art was something that I wanted to pursue seriously. I think from just being as a young kid, I always knew I wanted to do something with art. I went through high school. I did every art class I could take, and I had a plan. I already knew once I was done with high school, I wanted to go to college for media arts and animation because, again, I had a love for cartoons, 2D animation, but I really wanted to learn 3D animation. I loved Pixar, Toy Story. Those movies were always my favorite to watch, so that was a dream of mine to become an animator. So that's what I went to school for, graduated with my bachelor's in fine arts. Unfortunately, the animation part did not work out, so I pivoted and found another way to kind of continue to pursue art, and that was, one day I just picked up a paintbrush and decided, how can I make the skills that I have learned from animation work here on a canvas painting. So I started painting, and then I got the idea to try to sell the artwork. So I opened up an Etsy shop, put the artwork on there, and sold my first piece for $40. And I think that got me a lot more interested in trying to continue to pursue art, and I just been on the path ever since. So my artistic style is very stylized. Again, you always see that love, that animation background, the cartoon background in my artwork. I'm influenced by the artist Ernie Barnes. That was probably the first artist who really influenced my style of artwork. I loved his artwork. Watching the show Good Times on TV. It's another show I would watch growing up with my family. So that started my influence in art. Kind of trying to mimic his style but make it my own. And over the years, I've kind of gotten away from that and kind of changed it to try to make it more my own, but not as cartoony. At first, I would always do the eyes closed on a lot of my pieces. Then I started experimenting and doing the eyes open. I also started experimenting with more than just acrylic paint, which is what I started with. I started using oils, pencil, and just that to kind of get a different feel for my artwork, because you'll be surprised how using a different material can change how your artwork looks. Typical day in my studio is probably me grabbing a piece of paper with a pencil, starting off with a sketch of something that's an idea that may be in my head. And sometimes I get stuck. I can't figure out how I want the drawing to go. So I will Google references. I always try to use a reference, and sometimes that gives me an idea of how I want to, create the piece. Maybe I want to exaggerate the hair a lot or exaggerate a certain feature. So typically I'll get started like that. It's a lot of start, stop, erase. I can never really just go into a piece and just start to finish right away. But once I get started and have an idea, I do pretty good. And, you'll probably see me in the studio with either a favorite movie on the TV or just my favorite music playing. I'm kind of unorthodox, so I am kind of all over the place once as an artist. I don't technically have a ritual, I would say. I just want to release that urge that I have. I know when I feel like I have something I want to get out on a piece of paper. Like I said, I don't always know what it is, but I just kind of sit there and sketch or scratch until I figure it out. Yes, I have a piece that's titled "I Saw the Greatness in Myself." It's actually the first piece I did in oil paint, and I was just experimenting, but I was so surprised at how much I liked it once I finished it, and I was just really drawn to the piece because it's a woman, and I imagine her looking at herself in the mirror, giving herself positive affirmations, and that is just what I believe in, spreading positivity and people being able to reaffirm themselves, because I feel like we need that in life, especially with the way the world is. So that's one of my favorite pieces, and it always reminds me to speak positive to yourself, believe in yourself, see the greatness in yourself, because sometimes you won't always have people cheering you on, applauding you. So I think it's very important to be able to do that for yourself. So that's one of my favorite pieces. And I still have that piece too. I would say, my emotions are tied into my artwork because I am always trying to reaffirm myself as an artist. It is very hard when you have social media to compare yourself. So sometimes I do tend to go down the tunnel of comparison. And I put that in my art in ways of trying to turn that into something positive. So again, with the, affirmations, positivity, self-love, I try to reflect all of that stuff in my artwork. And even not just for myself, for other people that view my artwork, people that collect my artwork. I want them to feel a sense of joy and, just know that they should, love themselves no matter what. So I definitely try to always think about those messages when I'm creating a piece. You'll notice that in a lot of my work, the colors, the happiness. So that's definitely a foundation I like to stick to within my artwork. First, my family. I'm very passionate about my family, spending time with my husband and my kids. And then my other love outside of visual art is cinema. I love to watch a good movie, watch a good TV show. It's just so inspirational watching actors, become this character. And I think part of me is like a hidden part of me that wants to be able to do that. So outside of artwork, I would say I'm very passionate about cinema. My advice for younger artists that are still discovering their voice is to not give up on yourself. Keep going until you get the results that you want, and always be able to pat yourself on the back. And most importantly, I got this advice from someone. Always try different things. So don't get stuck thinking that you have to do one specific type of art. It's okay to try new things because that's how you figure out other things that you might be better at. I find balance between my artistic career and personal life by, just knowing how to separate the two. I have, my time for when I want to work on an art piece, and then I have my time for my family. So I've never really had a struggle with that, in that department. So I've always tried to be mindful of keeping that balance between the two. The story with my art and life will tell people to stay the course, because I started from small beginnings, painting in my living room on the floor, finally now to getting my own space to continue to work on art. I will say you never know where your art will take you. It's taken me places that I never imagined. I've gotten into magazines, I've done figurines, I've gotten my artwork into Netflix movies. So I want people to know that if they love something, they should pursue it, and don't stop. The best way I've been getting my art out into the world, I would say, is Instagram. Social media has been what catapulted me to the top, to gain a following, to gain collectors, sales, movie invitation, having my artwork put in movies. So all of that has come from Instagram. People finding me, also migrating from Etsy and when I first started to a professional website. People have been able to email me for opportunities to do commissions and those sorts of things. So definitely social media has been a big influence and made a big impact on my art career. And you can find me at my website, www.tiffanigart.com. That's TIFFANIG.com. I was inspired to bring my art to life through figurines by another artist who creates figurines, Hebrew Brantley. I love his artwork. I love his style. I have a few of his figurines. My husband has a few. And I just love the idea of being able to turn my drawings into a figurine, something else that people could collect and, cherish throughout the years. So I just had to figure out a path to get there. Luckily, I actually made buddies with another artist online that was into 3D artwork who helped me be able to bring my idea to life. And that's how I was able to come up with my first figurine. I've actually done 2 figurines so far, hopefully a third one down the line, but yes, definitely inspired by Hebrew Brantley. I've actually always thought of the idea of putting my artwork into fashion. Again, it was just something that I continued to put off, but that is something I'm looking to get more into as we go into 2026. I'm actually wearing a new piece of merchandise I just designed on my shirt right here. This is a sketch that I had a long time ago, and I decided, what can I do with this sketch? Sketch that I had that I never finished, but I figured out a way to use it and utilize it. And I said, well, I think this sketch will look good on a shirt. So that's what I did. I put it on a shirt, and more to come on that in 2026. So look out for Tiffani G Art Apparel. So this piece is titled, I Saw the Greatness in Myself. This is done with oil paint and acrylic in the background. And this was really me experimenting so much more so with the oil paint because I hadn't really used that medium a lot before. So this was the start to me kind of experimenting with oil. And this piece was really about empowerment, which a lot of my pieces are about, but this piece was really about empowerment, of Black women. And when I finished her face, I kind of got the feeling that she was, walking past the mirror, and she stopped, doubled back, and kind of looked at herself and said, you know what, I'm great. I see the greatness in myself. And that's the gaze that she has. She has the elongated neck, which I like to use a lot in some cultures that can mean, elegance and grace. So that's what part of that is. And really, this piece was about just feeling empowered in yourself and believing in yourself and knowing that you can do certain things, even when you feel like you can't, just being able to kind of have those mental talks with yourself to push through. And I feel like that's important in society today, especially as a Black woman. Sometimes it can be a little bit tougher to stand out in certain areas. So I definitely wanted to represent that in this piece. And this is actually one of my favorite pieces. I love this piece a lot. And, overall, that's what it's about. Empowerment and self-love. Knowing that you can do whatever you put your mind to. And I think that's important to share that message with anyone, anyone who sees this piece. I want them to kind of feel that way initially when they see it, but I also want them to gather their own feeling. They might feel completely different, but initially that's what this piece was about when it was created. So this piece is titled Heavy, also done in oil paint. And again, as you can see, from initially looking, it looks like she's weighed down in all of these clothes, which is why it's called heavy. But the metaphor for that is about life and how life can get heavy on us all sometimes, and how we kind of have to find our way out of that heaviness. It may take a while, it may not, but we all get in those situations. And I really just wanted to kind of express that in this piece. You know, she has the aviator kind of piece on her head, and that's kind of like, opposite of how do we get out of this heaviness. And aviation is about flying, and if we can fly, we can be free of, certain things. So that's kind of where I was going with that, with the aviator piece, the goggles, and then she's bundled up in all of these scarves, all the way down. So it really was meant to express how life can sometimes feel hard on us. And I want people to be encouraged to know that even when times get hard, down the line, we have to know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and things will get better eventually. So I do want people to be able to keep that in mind, that yes, life can be heavy, but we can also get to a point where we can fly and break free, and things get better down the line. This piece is titled Shall You Blossom Into More? And as you can see, blossom, that's why she has flowers on her robe. And blossoming is just about, again, shedding off layers of old, things that may be stressing you out or weighing you down, and kind of coming into your new self. And it's about growth in life, because we all have to go through it. And I think it's important for us to realize that growth is something that we can't escape. Even sometimes when we're not aware that we're growing in something, once you get, look down the line later, you'll realize how far you've come in life. It's about, maturity and realizing things that you may have not, realized before about, certain situations. And that's what I wanted to represent in this piece with the flowers, and just blossoming into a new self. And this piece is done in oil. I wanted to represent, naturalness of a Black woman, hair, the features, which is something I definitely like to portray in all of my pieces. But overall, this is just, a simple message about growth and, growing into a new self. So that's what this piece is meant to represent. So this piece is called I've Got Something to Say. Again, you can see the stylization, elongated neck, which I love to use in a lot of my pieces. The orange was meant to symbolize joy, just joy in life. I like to include that in a lot of my artwork, emotional, try to incorporate colors that are based on emotion, because I want people to feel that and understand why I use, certain things in the piece. And this piece was really about kind of being strong and holding your head up and speaking up for yourself, and not letting the world shut you down, because that can happen to us. So that's what the title is about. I've got something to say. And really it's about, speaking your mind. And this piece is called Retail Therapy. Obviously, from the glasses, the way the piece is, she's dressed in the piece. She's got a reference to, a Gucci scarf, the shades, the hat, she's got on lipstick. And I really Honestly, when I did this piece, I thought about my husband because he likes retail therapy a lot, and he, it makes you think about other ways to make yourself feel good if you're having a bad day, if you're not feeling your best, to kind of lift yourself up. Lots of people indulge in retail therapy. I've indulged in it myself, and I can say that it does kind of make you feel better when you're, to get your mind off of something that may be weighing you down on the other side. So I definitely believe in retail therapy. And it's just about lifting yourself up. Again, not letting life knock you down. So this piece is done with oil pastel. There's some color pencil in here. You can see the jewels that I used on the sunglasses. And there's also some, I think that's it, oil pastel, color pencil, and just regular pencil that I used to do this piece. So this was also about me kind of experimenting. I don't use a lot of, jewels or stuff in any of my other artwork, but I did get some advice one time to kind of always experiment and try new things. So that's also what I was incorporating when I did this piece, just seeing where it goes and just trying to do pieces that can, make people feel good. So yeah, that's what retail therapy is about, feeling good. This piece is called Game Face, and this is kind of like a pivotal moment in my artwork. Typically, I started off doing mostly painting, either acrylic, and then I moved into oil, and then I really started trying to get away from that, and I tried color pencil. So this piece is all color pencil, a character I made up, and it's also different from my past artwork because it's a male figure. Most of my past artwork were female figures, so this was really a pivotal moment for me, and this is me trying new things as an artist. And this is just what it says, Game Face is the little boy. He's in a vintage baseball uniform. And you can see he's looking kind of, like he's ready for the day. He's ready to go out and win. And that's the message that I wanted to get across about going out, preparing yourself for the day, kind of mentally getting yourself in that mindset to win for the day. Again, this message is throughout all of my artwork, not letting life beat you down, figuring out how to get over hurdles. And that's what Game Face is. So even though this is an image of a male figure, a little boy, we can all use this in our life as far as putting on the game face and just challenging ourselves to get through everyday life. And that's, typically what this piece was about. So. This piece is called Dapper. I wanted to, again, channel some vintage era, as you can see from what he's wearing, the suit, the pinstripes. And this piece is also done in color pencil. He's looking off to the side. It's kind of just about, feeling yourself and feeling good. And the saying goes, if you look good, you feel good. So that's what this piece was about, embodying. And I think it's important for everyone to feel good about themselves, no matter what, no matter whether it's, retail therapy or the clothes you put on, like, just finding a way to enjoy the moment and, be cautious of how you represent yourself. So that's what this piece is about.